Hello, everybody. Welcome back to CLAT Tutor. I am Leher Jain, a second year law student at the National Law School, Bangalore. And today we're going to be studying the law of torts. Now, over the next 3 videos, I will be covering 4 major subtopics under the law of torts. First is I will introduce what a tort means and what are the objectives of why a tort is considered to be a legal wrong. Second, we will discuss the conceptual framework of torts. Third, we will discuss what are the major torts that are recognized in India and what are the legal standards under the same. And lastly, whether there are any defenses for the law of torts. Before getting into torts specifically, it's important to understand that corpus juris, or the body of law, consists of 2 types of law. First is civil law, and the second is criminal law. Now, under civil law, the disputes are started in civil courts, where the 2 parties are called as the plaintiff and the defendant. A plaintiff is a person who files the complaint, and a defendant is the person who responds to the complaint and defends themselves. Lastly, the form of remedy that is available for a civil action can be in the form of damages, which is a monetary compensation, or in the form of injunctions, where the court can order a person to do or not to do something. And the main aim of the same is restorative or compensatory. Under criminal law, the proceedings are started before criminal courts, wherein every criminal case is considered to be a case against the government or against the state. And hence the 2 parties at play here are the state and the suspect. The state is also called as the prosecution, and the suspect is called as the defendant. Now, the remedy in the case of a criminal matter is of 2 forms. First is either imprisonment, or the second is a fine. And hence the main aim of a criminal action or a criminal suit is punitive or disciplinary. However, there are certain types of actions which are considered to be both civil wrongs as well as criminal law wrongs, such as trespass upon land is both a criminal and civil offense. In fact, even defamation is both a civil and a criminal offense. Now, it is important to understand that the word tort is derived from the Latin words, which means twisted. And hence, tort is something which is considered to be a wrong in the society or a deviation from what is right. Under the branch of civil law, we see that there are 3 main sub-branches: tort law, breach of contract, and breach of trust. Today, we will just be discussing tort law. Moving on to the nature of a tort law, a tort is defined as something which arises from the breach of duty primarily fixed by law, and such duty is towards persons generally, and its breach is redressable by an action for unliquidated damages. This means that there is a legal duty that must be breached, and such a legal duty is not owed to a specific person or cannot be set up by a contractual agreement. However, such a duty is towards people generally. And if you do breach that duty, then it is redressable, or it does have a remedy by an action for unliquidated damages. Unliquidated damages means damages which are not specified. So the court decides the amount of damages to be paid in this particular case. As we have already seen, a tort is considered to be a civil wrong, which is different from a breach of contract or a breach of trust. A person who commits such a wrong is called as a tortfeasor, and a person who files the complaint is called as the plaintiff. In India, the sources of tort law can be found in both laws, as in statutes, as well as judicial decisions. A simple example of this is the Motor Vehicles Accidents Act. The Motor Vehicles Act clearly lays down certain duties which a person has while using a motor vehicle and what happens in case of a breach of duty. A lot of other tortious liabilities, such as strict liability or absolute liability, are fixed by judicial decisions in India. Now, to also go over the distinction between a contract and a tort, a contract is an arrangement wherein two or more parties have specifically agreed to a certain set of conditions. And in the case of a breach, they have the power to specify the kind of remedy that can be guaranteed. On the contrary, a tort is something that cannot be created by an agreement. However, it is a legal duty that is owed generally to people. Furthermore, parties cannot fix the kind of remedy that is to be given for a tortious liability beforehand, as the quantum of loss and against whom the tort is caused is unknown. And hence, the only damages that are available are unliquidated damages. There are three main essentials of a tort in India. The first is there must be a legal duty. Now, this is distinguishable from an ethical or moral duty. For example, if a person is drowning in front of you, you might have a moral or ethical duty to go save that person. However, there exists no legal duty for you to do so. The second condition is that there must be a breach of such a duty. Now, such a breach can be through an act or even an omission. For example, there is a general legal duty that parents must care for their young children and must provide them with proper nutrition. So, for example, if a parent denies proper nutrition to their child, because of which the child suffers physical harm, this omission can also amount to a breach of duty. And lastly, there must be a legal injury. This can be differentiated from a damage. And legal injury is only the kind of injury that is recognized in the law. So the three conditions are that there must be a legal duty owed and there must be a breach because of which it causes a legal injury. If all of these conditions are satisfied, then something can be termed as a tort. While understanding the analytical framework of a tort, it is crucial to understand that the breach of duty or the wrong which is committed, because of which there is an injury or a harm, that must have a relationship of causation between them, which means that the breach of duty must be directly related to the harm caused to the victim. And this must be a direct outcome of the former's actions. Only then is a tortious liability established. I will end today's video by briefly going over 4 factual scenarios and looking into whether they're considered to be tortious in nature or not. First is if A is driving carelessly on the road and hits B, then this is considered to be a tortious liability because A, while driving any vehicle, owes a legal duty generally to people out there. And by running B over by his car because he was carelessly driving, A has caused a breach of that duty, which has also caused a legal injury to B. And hence, it does amount to a tort. The second scenario is if C calls D a thief in front of a number of people, and this is an untrue statement. This would also cause the offense of a tortious liability because this would harm D's reputation, and reputational harm is also considered to be a legal injury. The third scenario is if E, knowing that it is bad investment advice, anyway gives the same to F. This again would amount to a tort because this bad investment advice amounts to a legal injury which F would have to suffer. The last scenario for the day is whether G selling H's car without having any authority to do so amounts to a tort. In this case, the breach of duty is when G sells the car without having the authority to do so. And the legal injury cost is H losing control over their own car. And hence, it does fulfill the conditions of a tort. Now, there are various different kinds of torts, such as negligence, defamation, negligent misstatement, or conversion. All of these are considered to be torts, but they fall under different categories under the same. And the exact meaning of each of this tort is what we will study in the next video. So thank you for watching. If you have any queries, please feel free to mail us or leave it in the comments down below. Thank you.